And we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are going to talk about Nico Harrison once again. The Mavericks had their end of the year press conference. So I wanted to get into his comments when he addressed the media. Now, this was now public. This wasn't, behind closed doors. We didn't have to, look at articles and get all the quotes. Like this, you could watch, the videos that are out there of him answering questions. Now, some of the questions were pretty brutal. But, once again, he defended, trading Luka. There were some questions they asked as much as like, oh, do you think you should be fired? Or why shouldn't you be fired? I mean, there were some brutal questions that were asked. But, he obviously talked about the injuries that the Mavericks dealt with. We never really got to see what this team could do at full strength when Luka got traded. And I will defend him on that. Now, I don't think they would have gone to the championship. But, you did lose a significant piece in Kyrie Irving. You did. And, I think had Kyrie not have gotten hurt, had the injuries just not have happened in general. I mean, look at Anthony Davis. I mean, he got hurt in the very first game that he played with the Mavericks. If all these injuries didn't happen to the other guys are already on the team, like Gafford and Lively, like if they all didn't get hurt, the Mavericks probably would have been in a better position. I don't know how much better, because they probably would either be playing the Rockets or they'd be playing the Thunder right now in the first. Well, they'd still be a play-in team. And then they'd have to win the play-in to get into the playoffs, and they'd probably be playing the Thunder in the first round. I mean, that still would have happened anyways. But if they were able to get past the Grizzlies, and they probably would have lost. We never got to see the team at full strength. And, let's see what happens next year. Because, you do look at the team. Is it a bad team? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. When you look at the team from top to bottom, it's solid. But it's just the simple fact that you traded away your franchise player for an aging Anthony Davis, who could still play. Look at what he did in the play-in game against the Grizzlies. He put up 40 points. Anthony Davis is still a very good player. But, he's, nearing the end of his prime. He's tail end of his prime, and he gets hurt a lot. So, and this just came as a surprise to everybody. The fans feel betrayed. But, yeah, Nico Harrison was saying, he said, one, I think I've done a really good job here. He said, and I don't think I can be judged by the injuries this year. You have to be judged in the totality from the beginning to end. I think I have a very good working relationship. He talked about with the owner, with the CEO. The leadership that we have is really elite. And you'll see next year when our team comes back, we're going to be competing for a championship. And obviously, he talked about defense wins championships. We got all that. I guess he was asked about, when they had the round table and everything was closed off. He said it was meant to be more like a round table discussion. Clearly, it didn't have the goal that we intended on, so that's why we're coming back here today, because it fell flat. Today I'm basically answering the same questions I answered last week because we didn't do a good enough job. Well, obviously, yeah, he said it fell flat, but obviously, yeah, because, it's behind closed doors and, people want to actually see what's going on or what you're actually saying. But, now, I guess, did they redeem themselves by doing this? No, this is something that teams usually do. So, now this was an interesting quote. He said, I did know Luka was important to the fan base. But he said, I didn't quite know it to that, or to what level. I didn't quite know it to what level. I don't know how. Luka brought this team to a championship last year. He was to a finals appearance last year. With the help of Kyrie Irving and the other guys on the team, but Luka was a driving force in that. You're not getting to the finals last year without Luka Doncic. That's not happening. and he's been there. How long has he been there for? What is it? I don't know. What has it been? 6, 7 years he was there? Maybe a little less. No, yeah, that sounds about right. 6 or 7 years. And you didn't know to what level he meant to the fan base? Well, now you know. Now he's full aware of that. And I actually wanted to talk about something else regarding Dirk Nowitzki in a second. He also said a really good leader doesn't tell the people that work for them what to do. It's a collective, well thought out process to make a big move like that. And also, unfortunately, I'm super stubborn, so someone telling me to do something doesn't work too well for me. I mean, again, there was really no pushback. Like, I think if Mark Cuban was still the majority owner of this team, that would have never have happened. That would never have happened. That would never have happened. But it did. But I did want to get into something else. So Dirk Nowitzki has kind of like distanced himself from the organization in recent years. And Nico Harrison also did something that kind of, along with trading Luka, he also did something that also, Dirk Nowitzki did not take a liking to. And that had to do with someone working within the Mavericks organization that was there for a long time. But it was so Nico Harrison fired longtime Mavericks staffer. This is an article in the New York Post. He fired a longtime Mavericks staffer, Casey Smith, who was close with both Dirk Nowitzki and Luka Doncic. He did this while Smith was out of state, and he was taking care of his mother, who was sick, and she unfortunately passed away. He fired him over the phone, and I guess, well, him just simply being fired, Dirk Nowitzki was not happy about that. He began as the Mavericks head athletic trainer in 2004 before making his way up to Dallas's director of health and performance years later. Dirk Nowitzki credited Smith for contributing so significantly to his long career. He's one of Dirk Nowitzki's best friends. And, so supposedly that has something to do with Dirk being away from the Mavericks organization, distancing himself a little bit. And now with Luka being traded, I mean, that just also, contributes to that even more. Nowitzki recently said on a podcast, over the past year, you could already see the team heading in a different direction. Now we're seeing the result of that. But yeah, it's not looking good right now for him. At some point, it's just, I mean, the Mavericks, he's got to hope that the Mavericks do well next year, because if not, ownership is going to be pressured into letting him go. But actually, Nico Harrison said recently, when that incident was brought up, letting go of Casey Smith, he said, "You bringing up Casey is like almost, it's kind of a joke. Last year, Casey wasn't around and we made it to the finals. No one brought up Casey last year. So to bring up this year doesn't really make sense. He's been away for 2 years, so I'm not even going to comment on that." So that was his response to that. But I thought that was something interesting that I came across. But yeah, I mean, Dirk Nowitzki is, one of the greatest Mavericks of all time, and Luka was on his way to doing that. And you don't want to anger, one of your all-time greats. I mean, yeah, he's not playing, but you want to still keep Dirk around and be close to this organization. You don't want to, I wouldn't want that, but again, that's just me saying that. So yeah, it's just Nico Harrison has just really dug himself into a deep hole, and it's going to be a long off season, and he's going to have to find a way to dig himself out of it. I mean, if the Mavericks go out there, they play really well. They finish as one of the best teams in the Western Conference, and they make a deep playoff run, then he's going to look a lot better. But it's the way this Western Conference is, and with some of the young teams that are on the come up, and you see how the OKC Thunder are right now, and it's just he has a certain window with this team, because Kyrie Irving's not getting any younger, Anthony Davis is not getting any younger, Klay Thompson not getting any younger. He's got a certain window, and it's just everything's got to pan out right, and I just don't see it. Because some of these guys are going to get hurt. Like Anthony Davis is going to get hurt next year, and that's just again, I don't like saying it, but that's just part of his game. He gets hurt, he misses time, so you could say, well, you got to evaluate everything from the beginning to the end, and it's just, but. The injuries are going to happen. Injuries are a part of the game. So, yeah, so he continues to double down. I mean, obviously, you give him truth serum, then you'll really hear what he thinks about everything that's going on. He's obviously not going to say, he's not going to reveal too much. But you have to wonder, I mean, with everything that's gone on, I think, I mean, maybe a little bit. You got that a little bit when he said, "I didn't realize, how, like, to what level he meant to the fans." Well, I feel like you should have knew that already. But that's where we're at right now. But let me know what you guys think about what he had to say. Also, let me know what you guys think about the Dirk Nowitzki situation with him letting go of the staff member. Let me know about that in the comments. So we're going to take our final break of the show now. And then when we come back, we'll talk a little bit of baseball when we come back. Some interesting things that happened over the weekend in the Yankees-Rays game, the last game of the series on Sunday, with scoring and reviews and things like that. We'll talk about that when we come back from our final break. So with that being said, for one final time today, stick around and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.